Hey guys, it's Rebecca. It's the end of the month, which means it's time for my January wrap-up, where I'm going to show you all the books that I read over the course of the month and give you a slight description of each one. Now, I'm not going to go into full details here. If you want my full reviews, be sure to check out my Goodreads account, my page. I have reviews of all of them there. And I also have a blog where I have all of these reviews as well. And you can go a little bit more in depth. I don't do a lot of spoilers just because I want you to enjoy the book. So let's get going, shall we? The first book I read was On Such a Full Sea by rae-lee. And this book is an adult dystopia, which I love dystopians. It's one of my favorite. I mean, 1984 really got me into it. And I love it. And then once the Hunger Games came out and like everybody was writing dystopias, I was like, yes. Even though it's a little bit overdone right now. Oops. So I bought this one because it was adult and I was like, cool, adult dystopia, love it. And yeah, I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. Basically, the book is about a girl named Fan who lives in the settlement town of Beemore, which is Baltimore, for those in the know. And it's a world where there are 3 levels of society. There are the charters up here, and they're the top level. They're the richest. They're the ones who like make the most money, the doctors, the scientists, and whatnot. They work hard all their lives. And in the middle, you have the settlements, and that's where Fan lives. And these are usually settled by like immigrants and things like that. Like her immigrants, her family, and her ancestors are all from China. And so they settled the town of Beemore. And they're the ones that provide the food and the materials for the charters. And then you have the ones underneath of that who just kind of live in the outsides. And those are the poorer people, the ones who go here to there and have a harder time making ends meet. It's also like the dangerous part of the world. So basically, Fan, our main character, is in search of her missing boyfriend. And she goes to all 3 of these different areas. The problem I had with it is that it's all speculative because it's all written or told from the settlers in Beemore she left behind. It's what they think might have happened to her. They're making up the stories to make themselves feel better about the fact that she left, which is a really interesting concept, but I got really tired down with a lot of the descriptions in the middle of every chapter. I just wanted to know what was happening to her, and it just told me about, oh, how your brother is feeling sad today. So I didn't really love it. I appreciated it, but I didn't love it. The next book I read, I didn't actually read. I listened to it. I'm not usually a big person who does audiobooks. I just kind of was like, I'd rather read the book. I feel like you have to read it. But I decided to give it a go instead on this one. I decided to listen to Yes Please by Amy Poehler. And part of the reason I decided to do the audiobook is because she reads it. And there's just something that's alluring about that to me, is having the author read it, especially if it's like a comedian or a famous person such as she. So I decided to give it a go. And it was really interesting. There was a lot of banter and things like that. She had some guests on speaking with her and reading chapters, like Seth Meyers, and so they had a little banter back and forth that I feel you wouldn't really get if you're reading the book. And parts of the book were really good. Parts of it were really funny. I enjoyed hearing her stories about Parks and Rec, even though I never watched it. Her stories about SNL, although I felt like there were a lot of name drops. And, you know, her stories about UCB and moving things like and trying to do things when she was young. And I related to some of that. But a lot of it, to me, felt like a self-help book for single mothers in their 40s. A lot of it seemed like a way. She had an entire chapter on her divorce, and she didn't go into the details, but she was like, this is, if I were to write a divorce book, this is what I would call it. It's like a list, and there was a lot of filler, and it just wasn't what I was expecting. I think I was expecting more of a funny memoir, like Tina Fey's Bossy Pants or Mindy Kaling's Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me, and it wasn't that. I'm not saying it wasn't good, but I don't think it was good for me right now. It's kind of how I felt about it. The next book I read was probably my favorite of the month, and no, it wasn't probably, it was my favorite of the month, and that's Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I loved this book. I had no idea what it was going into it. I was at the bookstore, I was buying a book that was recommended to me, and it was on the buy 2, get 1 free table, and I can never just buy 1. I have to buy 2 and get the 3rd one free. I have to do it. It's how they get me. They did their job right. And so I looked around the table forever and ever and ever, and then I decided to try this one out. It seemed like it was kind of up my alley, because there's a thing on the back. It says it's reminiscence of the Hunger Games with Game of Thrones, and I was like, sold. I love both of those. Done. Well, yes. It's like the Hunger Games with Game of Thrones and Lord of the Flies and Ender's Game all in one on Mars, but better. Like, it's not, when people say it's like the Hunger Games, sometimes they're like, people are turned off by that, but it's not. It's reminiscent. It's got some themes that are similar, but it's not the Hunger Games. I mean, people die in gruesome ways. It's not like the Hunger Games where you skim over the death. No, people die gruesomely. Sorry, spoilers. I mean, I guess you knew that, though, telling you that it's the Hunger Games, right? It's 16-year-old Darrow, who lives in the mines of Mars. He's a helldiver, which means that he is responsible for, like, manipulating all of the mining stuff, and he's super skilled and, like, revered in his town. And there's some drama down there, and you think the book's gonna be about the drama in the mines of Mars, but it's not. And it's so great. There's so much detail, and I loved it. I loved it. And I went and bought Golden Sun, the second book in the trilogy, like the next day after I finished it. And I didn't want to stop. I had to stop because I had to go to bed to go to like work the next morning. And all I wanted to do at work was read. And I can't because I teach, and you can't read when you're teaching. It doesn't work. I looked forward to coming home and reading this one. And none of the other books over the course of the month did I do that. So, top one pick of the month. The next book I read was Horror Store by Grady Hendrix, and it's basically, it's a nice, fun horror story about working in retail. Basically. I saw this on a lot of people's channels, and I was like really intrigued by the idea of it. It looks like an IKEA catalog, and it's supposed to because it's a knockoff of IKEA and it admits it. It's called Orsk. The store is, I mean, you look in it and like, it looks like a catalog from IKEA. Like, it tells you, do you want it delivered to your house? This is what you do. At the beginning of every chapter, it has these, like, advertisements for, like, furniture and stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, some of these pieces of furniture, like, I would totally buy. Because just the way they wrote them is so alluring. Like, this chair will, you know, enhance your creativity and have the comforts of your home in your workspace of your office. And I'm like, I want that. I want to be comfortable at work and be creative at work at the same time. So as someone who's worked in retail for a really long, or who did work in retail for a really long time, I found it really fun. It's not super duper gruesome. At least I didn't think so. I think other people might, but I didn't find it to be super duper gruesome. It was about a ghost story. I'm not going to spoil anything. I don't think the ghost story part of it was necessarily, like, I feel like they could have come up with something a little bit more creative, but I like the fact that it's kind of like you can't leave. Once you're in retail, you're stuck forever. Finally, the last book that I read this month, number 5 of 5. I did 5 books in a month. This is like a new record for me since getting out of school. It's very exciting. The last book I read was Atlantia by Ali Condé, who wrote the Match trilogy, which I really liked. I don't know if I loved Match, but I was intrigued. I read all 3. I liked the first one the best. So I was like, let me give this a chance. I kept walking back and forth and deciding, should I buy it? Should I not buy it? But this cover is like so like soft and like shiny. Not soft, I guess, but like you can see it's shiny. And the colors are like it's like teal, and I love teal. Teal and black. It kind of goes teal to blue to black. So I really liked it. I thought it was really pretty, and I liked this concept of like a world underground or underwater. Basically a future world. The air is really bad. They send half of the world, the population, down below, and half the population stays above. And so it's this whole like divide, is what they call it, between below and above. And it's this girl Rio, who's a twin, her twin sister Bay, and her mom Oceana. Oh, surprising, they all have like water names, right? And so, you know, their mother has dead. She's passed away before the book starts in kind of mysterious circumstances. and then all of a sudden, her sister kind of goes away, and she's kind of stuck. But I felt like the whole book was kind of leading up to the end, and it didn't really have a lot of like stuff in the middle. I just didn't feel like there was a lot of like growth going on and development going on. I just feel like it was like, okay, this is what's gonna happen, and this is how I'm gonna do it, and I don't really have a reason for this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And I didn't really connect with the character, with Rio. I just was like, get over it, get over yourself, and deal with it. But, it worked, I guess. Meh. It is what it is. So, those are my books from the month that I read. If you've read any of them, or want to read any of them, please let me know down in the description, or the comments, I guess, not the description. Let me know down in the comment box. We can have a discussion about these books, what you thought about them, or if you loved them, if you hated them. We can have a chat about that. And if you want to know more about any of these, or you want to know more detailed reviews that do have some spoilers, please feel free to check out my Goodreads or my blog. Links for both of which are in the description down below. And that's it for me. I'll see you next time. Hey guys, it's Rebecca. I'm here today to do my very first ever book haul, and I'm so excited. The month of January for me was insane with the book buying. I think it's because I decided to start this channel and do the booktubing, which then meant of course I had to buy books, right? Shopaholic, apparently here.